Hi, and welcome to another edition of Onside SA. Things are hotting up very quickly. Budge and I were talking just before we came on air. And Budge, let's get back to what we're talking about, the last one standing. Now, before we start, there are always four guys our sponsor from overseas, from the UK basically. Charlie Pegram, Spurs. Derek Ramsey, Everton. Stevie B is Fulham, and Mark Aboud, Liverpool. How many of them are still in?
Sadly, none.
I'm still going.
You're still standing, but the UK
year.
boys are...
What is wrong with my UK boys, you know?
Maybe too much information, Paul.
Too much information. Football pundit. Stevie B's on the line. We're going to be speaking with him in a moment. Just to touch on the last one standing before we join Steve. 60 left from 334 entries.
Spurs and Man United took over 215 guys out.
They're gone, eh? Yeah. Now, David Hensley's your man of the week.
Well, you have a look at the teams he picked. He picked West Ham and Leicester. And I always look at the odds. You know, anyone can pick the 1 to 3 shots and go through. But those are two good picks, Paul.
Okay, now we've looked at the favourite board. Anthony Sewer leads with 5 still going through.
Yeah. And Shrewdy, you know, he's worked it out.
He's a diehard Liverpool.
Yeah, shame. But
shame.
He's got a lot to shout at the moment. But he's done well so far,
Yeah,
Paul.
Anthony always does well in these competitions. He goes until it counts.
Well, then he split, you know, the good things he goes, all his picks.
Yeah.
And then once it gets tougher and he's used them.
How about Lawrence Werner's son, Jared? Jared Werner's got 3 left.
Yeah, he's got
also
3.
Shrewdy.
Yeah, no mug, Paul.
Do you know, just talking about that, his old man flies today with some mates, tonight, to go and watch Arsenal Spurs. They're Arsenal supporters.
Okay.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
So they fly out. I don't know who. Jared's probably father of the son, you know, will be Arsenal, but I don't know who Jared supports. Okay. Kevin Rice, another very nice guy.
Yeah, Kevin.
He's going
in there.
Yeah, he's a good lad, Kevin Rice. And then there's 8 people who have 2 each, including moi.
Yeah.
And then 33 have got 1 pick each. So should be very interesting. Just to quickly touch on the teams that knocked people out. Tottenham, Man United, Wolves, Brighton, Watford, Everton, Norwich and Sheffield United. 60 left. Let's talk to Stevie B. Stevie B.
Good morning.
Hi, Steve. Can you hear us?
I can. Good morning.
Morning, Stevie. Good to have you on the line. I was just putting the boot into you, Aboud, Charlie Pegram, and Derek Ramsey. The 4 that I sponsor every time are battling to go 3 rounds. What's the story?
I know. Well, Budge warned me last week that I've gone out on Spurs on several occasions, but I obviously haven't learnt my lesson. So that has to be the last time I back your team.
I don't put them in. That's why I've stayed in the competition, Steve. All right, Budge, you've knocked up a couple of show topics to talk about.
Yeah, Steve, the Neymar situation, there's only a few days left. Do you see that going through?
Well, the latest, I mean, obviously you hear sort of contradictory reports, but the latest is that Barcelona and PSG seem to be getting very close to a deal, but PSG now sort of say that the player that they really want is Dembele from Barcelona, but I'm not sure he's too keen to go back to France. So it could be a bit of a stalemate, but it sounds as if in principle they've agreed a sort of a gross sum that Barcelona are prepared to pay, including a player exchange. So I think Barcelona looks the favoured route, because I don't think that Real Madrid are going to come up with. They're not prepared to release Vinicius, who PSG have asked for. So I think he'll go. I mean, as we said last week, pointless a player of that worth sitting playing with the reserves. So I think something will happen there.
He's training back. I saw Sky News. Neymar's back training with PSG.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify, what is the last date it closes? Is it the 1st or 2nd?
2nd of September. So that's sort of next Tuesday. Monday the 2nd.
Monday, nobody else, eh?
I see Sanchez has finally gone to Inter Milan.
Well, my understanding is he's not quite wearing the colours of Inter Milan just yet. Okay. But it's really come down to how much that United were prepared to pay of his wages. And you hear stories that Inter Milan have pretty much said they're not prepared to pay more than about 100,000 a week. So that leaves United basically picking up the bulk of his wages still. But they're obviously desperate to get him out of the club Even though, as we know, so Anthony Martial has picked up an injury and could be out for at least a month, and they are a little bit short up front, but it just sounds as if, there may be other things going on behind the scenes and they just want him out the club at the moment.
Yeah, that's the only thing it can be, because if you've got him and you've got Jesse Lingard, to me it's a no-brainer who should be playing.
Yeah.
But I agree. Steve, you see any Real Madrid signings the last couple of days?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I think Zidane wants Pogba, but I'm not sure that Perez are prepared to pay. The United have pretty much said €200 million, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
So I'm just not sure that's going to happen now. I don't think they will. Having said that, obviously they brought in Hazard. Everyone seems to forget because that happened so early in the summer. But I'm not sure that Real Madrid fans think that Hazard on his own is going to change, the status quo, because they were well short of just one more player, Real Madrid. So, I think there still might be a surprise or two, but I don't think it's going to be Pogba.
Yeah, I watched them on Saturday. They drew 1-1 at home. Up front, there was James Rodriguez, Gareth Bale, and the main guy up front, and Benzema. They look terrible.
Well, they're all players. I mean, effectively, who have been either wanted away or they'd want to get them away at some point. So, they're not playing with really, I think, their first choice of players that they actually want. So, there is unrest there, but and you just wonder if Zidane and the board and the chairman are going to sort of, they're obviously not seeing eye to eye on who each one wants in the club.
Yeah, that's true. Steve, the League Cup, we've had a few games on Tuesday and Wednesday. Just looking at the teams, it looks like they're rotating or keeping the main players and playing the squad guys.
Well, I think that makes sense, because obviously, if you look at the Premier League teams with a squad of 25, that they've got to play some of these squad players, because when one or two of their main first 11 get injured, they've got to be able to slot these guys in, and if they're not getting any real match practice. Having said that, where you've had sort of one or two sort of all Premier League ties like Newcastle, Leicester, they both put out sort of strong team last night. Yeah. But it was very interesting, and like I said before, I went to Fulham Southampton on Tuesday. We have a game on Friday, so we rested 9 of our 11 players, and actually on the bench pretty much just had sort of teenagers. Southampton played, they started with 8 of the 11 that started against Brighton last weekend, and had the rest of the first team sort of players on the bench. Yeah. Interesting that, I guess depends on the size of the club. Now, Southampton's manager went on record and saying, look, we want to have a good cup run. Yeah. And, they're obviously not going to finish in the top 6. They may just about be okay for relegation. Yeah. So I guess the cup run is important to, the mid-table sort of Premier League teams.
Yeah, I agree. The teams like Leicester, and I always backed them to win the cup, and it's amazing how they rotate their squad. But maybe Rodgers is going to change it this year.
Well, I mean, Roy Hodgson, on the other hand, said they wanted a cup run, yet he rested 10 players, and they went out on penalties to Colchester. Having said that, when you looked at who he had on the bench and brought on, you had some Premier League players there, but Colchester dug deep, and the same with sort of Norwich as well, lost to Crawley. So I think having the one leg and then no extra time, go straight into penalties, I think it's a good thing.
Yes.
I think it's sort of, you can get the odd sort of result like that, and I think that makes it good for the competition.
What do you think, Steve? As far as the admission charge, is it still the same money you'd pay for a league game?
No, they reduced the prices. Most of the clubs will reduce the price. And if you looked at the attendances, generally they are way down. Newcastle last night had something like 22,000, normally getting 50,000 plus. Yeah. So I think Forest got a big crowd because they had a local derby against Derby. Yeah. But otherwise, Fulham got just under 9,000. If that was a league game, we'd have been double that, obviously, with our reduced capacity. So I think it makes sense to, but having said that, some fans know that clubs might play a weakened team and just stay away anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Steve, sorry, but just asking this. You're on the box on Friday in South Africa. Everyone's going to be watching you play
good.
Cardiff.
Okay, well, I hope that's good. But it's a tough game. I mean, Neil Warnock, would love to put one over on us. Always had a little bit of a snipe at Fulham. But it's a game I think we need to target to get back to winning ways.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Steve, talking about winning ways, can Tottenham get back to winning ways against
Well, they
Arsenal?
were very disappointing. I was really surprised. I was surprised how well Newcastle played, to be fair, having
How well they
seen highlights
defended.
of their
How well
game
they
at
defended.
Norwich. Newcastle really dug deep and played, but just Tottenham just looked. Against Aston Villa when they were struggling, they all of a sudden second half they just came good, but they just didn't happen for them.
Yeah.
Could and should have had a penalty, quite possibly, but that apart, it just something's not quite right there, and it's I guess it's a bit of a worry for Tottenham fans, especially with the Eriksen situation still up in the air.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just stop there. It also there's one of the blokes on the bench sporting a black eye. Stories going afoot that him and Kane had a set to in the training ground. And he should be playing. He should be playing ahead of Sanchez. They should have the Belgian pairing at centre half. I'm on the sites and I'm listening to all the grumbles, Steve. They're coming thick and fast, the grumbles.
Yeah, well, it's sad because I think a lot of people were, predicting that Tottenham, could well finish third this year.
Yeah.
And as things stand, they could still do, but there was obviously, question marks at this moment in time. So I think it'll be a tough game. I can't see Tottenham winning at Arsenal.
Steve,
they don't normally. I know that Arsenal lost at Liverpool, but I think going forward and at home, I think Arsenal might just edge that by a goal.
You've got it all wrong. But I want to ask you a question, Stevie. If we blotted our copybook, we were roasted by Man City and we just couldn't break them down at Newcastle and we're fighting for third. Let's have a look at the other three teams fighting for third. Chelsea are muck. They managed to come through and beat Norwich. Arsenal got rolled last week and Man United got beat at home. They're the other three.
No, absolutely. I think this is the thing. I think if you take City and Liverpool are nailed on for 1 and 2,
yes.
I think 3, 4, 5, 6 could be anybody.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. There were some crazy results last weekend. You would not have put money on Newcastle and Crystal Palace doing a double over Tottenham and United, but on the day, that's what happened. But I just think, in fact, if it carries on like this, you can see Liverpool and Man City being so far clear of the pack.
That's right.
It won't even be close.
Steve, can Man United rebound after that debacle last weekend?
Well, I think I think they have to, really, don't they? Obviously, they've thrown both games away. They threw that game away at Wolves, missing that penalty, and again Rashford, missing a penalty. Obviously, it wasn't saved, but it was missed. And Palace sort of dug deep, and I think a little bit concerned, obviously, with Martial out injured. They're looking a little bit light, a bit fragile up front. I don't think they'll lose at Southampton, but I think they're going to have to really sort of work hard to get a win down there.
Yeah, Leicester, Bournemouth. You see Leicester winning again?
Yeah, I can see Leicester winning. I just think that they've got some good players, and Brendan Rodgers got them playing well as a team. Good, a good young team, energetic. As I said, I was very impressed with them when they played in the second half at Chelsea. I can see Leicester winning that.
Okay, can Burnley upset Liverpool?
Park the bus.
Well, I think at home that's all they can do. Obviously they've got a lot of big players and they'll throw everything at them. But I just think Liverpool should be too strong. It's a game Liverpool really have to win because they don't want to start dropping points at a club where they'd expect to get 3.
Yeah, you think Wolves will finally get beat this season? They were lucky last week.
Yeah,
they
were.
Yeah, I've just got a feeling Everton could pinch this. They don't score many, they don't give many away. I was a bit disappointed with them. I thought they should have done better at Aston Villa.
So was I.
They had chances, but they didn't take them in the second half. I think, and again, Wolves are playing tonight, and they've got to play a strong team against Torino to make sure they go through. I think Everton will just probably just win that by a goal.
All right, Steve, on to the Championship. You positive Fulham can get a result at Cardiff?
Yeah, well, had we not have slipped up at home to Forest, I think I would have said absolutely. It's going to be a close game. I think that it's going to be very similar, where we dominate possession, and I think the key is going to be whether we're clinical or not. We were against Millwall last week. We weren't against Forest. And I think that that's going to be the key. Cardiff, we know what we're going to get. They're going to be in our faces. They're going to put a bit of pressure on when we have the ball, but otherwise they're going to sit back and try and catch us on the break. I'd be disappointed not to get a result down there.
All right. We've got this, the Bristol City Middlesbrough game. We've got it because it's the early kick-off on Saturday.
Okay. Well, I've been quite impressed with Bristol City. I mean, every year they sell one of their best players, but Lee Johnson's, he's been there a long time, and I think, I was very surprised that they've had a couple of good results this season. Winning at Derby was a surprise, but good luck to them. And I think that they'll win that. Middlesbrough, to me, are not a top 6 team this year.
All right. Well, the big game in the Championship is obviously Leeds United against Swansea.
Yeah, and that really is. I mean, both teams have won 4 of their, and drawn 1 of their 5 games. I've been surprised by Swansea. I mean, having sold, I guess, arguably the 2 of their best players, they really are sort of playing well. And I watched a little bit of the game in the second half, and they beat Birmingham. And once they got the first goal, it was all over. Leeds just seem to be finding it harder at home. I think teams come to defend a little bit. Yeah. I think there's going to be a really good game. I think it's either going to be could be a score draw, or maybe Leeds might just edge it. But I think Swansea have quite a surprise team this year.
Okay, now Birmingham City against Stoke. Stoke haven't won a game, even though they got a result in the League Cup at Leeds.
I think getting that sort of that win on penalties at Leeds is probably good for their confidence. Yeah. But they had a shocking start to the season. Birmingham are a very up and down team. Yeah. I mean, they've had a couple of good results and a couple of poor ones. I think that will be close. I think Stoke might just hold them, get a draw out of that game.
All right. Last but not least, Steve, Notts Forest, who you watched last week against my Preston team.
Yeah, well, depends. I mean, Forest obviously came. Forest, to be fair to them, I mean, they only had something like 20-something% possession at Fulham, but they defended very, very resolutely. They will come out against. But I think that'll be a good game, be an entertaining game. I mean, both teams are sort of there or thereabouts, just behind the playoff places. So, I think I'd fancy maybe a score draw there.
Yeah, strangely, we got a good result at Forest, but as you say, away from home we've been poor. But Forest are a Jekyll and Hyde team, yeah. But I agree.
Yeah, but they did. I mean, as I say, they defended very well. They took their chances, the 2 chances, well, and defended well. I think they did. They mastered the art of gamesmanship, though, and the referee decided enough was enough and added 8 minutes stoppage time, but we still couldn't make it count. So.
Anyway, Steve, last question. Any advice for Paul on the last one standing? He's one of the final 60. Any tips?
Any tips for me, please?
Well, I was going to say, I think if Paul listens to me, then he's probably going to go out. So,
Steve, tell him to take Arsenal.
Well, I'll be watching your Fulham, Steve, on Friday night, and as they say in the Fulham area, get on there.
Well, it's nice that you are getting Championship football this season. Because obviously it's you've had a dearth of it. So I think it's great that you're getting to see that. And it's as I say, I mean the standard is in some of the games is definitely not the same as the Premier League. But I don't think it's going to be a particularly entertaining game. I think it will be but I think it's going to be for Fulham to be very patient and to take their chances. So hoping, and then we have an international break. So I think for a lot of the teams playing, they don't want to go into the international break on the back of a defeat, because then you've got 2 weeks to try and rectify the situation.
Yeah, lovely. All right, Stevie, until next time, thanks very much for your input.
Absolutely, nice talking to you both.
All the best.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. All right, Buzz, let's go on to those Premiership fixtures. We'll have them up on the screen now, and you can tell me your thinking.
Yep.
And you've discussed a few of them, but let's have a look. Top of the boards here, Steve. Even money a good price?
Well, I looked at the site yesterday. I saw a great price, 7-1. Man United to miss a penalty. So look, Paul, you just never know. I think we're playing with a couple of players that shouldn't be there. I'm not in love with McTominay. I don't think he's good enough.
Who would you get rid of if you wanted to?
Well, you can't. We've got to play Matic, Paul. I know he's got to give him a chance. We spent 50 million on Fred. But, Lingard's been non-existent, so somebody's got to play in that position first.
Is Fred injured?
Well, no, he's not injured. He's still there.
He can't play on the left because it's right said Fred.
Yeah, right said Fred.
Get him down there. He looked all right in his last couple of games.
We struggled. We're a Duracell battery team, Paul. They just run around with their heads chopped off. And sadly, we're better without the ball than with the ball.
And in defence?
Well, defence, we look okay. It's going to take time. I've never been a lover of Shaw, and he broke down again.
Is he injured again? Who would fill his place? Yeah,
well, Ashley Young will go to left back. I would play Rojo, but they don't really like him. And Ashley Young, I don't know, Paul. That's a situation we're in. Ashley Young at left back. You know, so
Okay.
I like the right
He
back
got
one.
turned a
Bissaka.
couple of times.
Turned.
I tell you what they say. I was just talking about the boy Nicholas Pepe.
Yeah.
First guy to turn.
Van Dijk.
Van Dijk. Gee, did you see it was brilliant?
Yeah.
And he did it to the fullback.
Yeah.
Woof, woof. He's got a lot of skill.
No, he can play.
He
Paul.
can play. But anyway, are you going with Man United to win it?
Can't go with United
Draw.
to win.
Draw for
Draw,
Budgie. Okay, I think United will win. I might
Let's
take a bit
hope
of
so,
an even
Paul,
money.
but
Yeah.
I can't back them, yeah.
Chelsea, Sheffield
I
United.
think there's goals in this, Paul. I've been impressed with just the way Frank Lampard set his team out. They have a go.
Yeah, they have a
Young
go.
guys, I think there's
They
plenty of
concede,
goals.
though.
I know, that's...
Jeez, they concede.
No, they're not the best at the back.
But he has been telling them that too many players are out at the back.
Yeah.
You know, when you got Jacob
Well, Rudiger's
Zuma.
the main guy, you know,
Yeah.
and he's injured. But the other guy, you know, Zuma's
The
looked
two guys
injured.
he's sold are both playing.
Yeah, David Luiz. Well, I don't think he's much of a loss. But
They're pulling the penalty.
no, he doesn't
Found
know
out.
VAR.
Chelsea for me.
Chelsea 1 to
certainty.
3, Paul. But
Certainty.
the best bet's 7 to 10 over 2.5 goals in that particular match.
Has Billy Sharp got another run yet?
No.
He was. He's
Been on the bench.
He'll be on the bench. Billy Sharp.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for him at Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right, Crystal Palace.
Paul,
Can't
you
really
know,
believe it. He's
just-
knocking out the cup
You know,
yesterday.
Villa, I thought they were fortunate against Everton. You know, they fought hard.
Yeah.
A lot of creative players, but Crystal Palace at home, Paul, you just don't know what you're going to get.
If they front three fire, they're a fair side.
Well, they're better without Benteke. You
He's
know,
never on
He's
side.
never on side. But you got to think 12 to 10 Crystal Palace would be a good bet. But they don't score many goals, even though they did
Aston
score
Villa
2
parked
goals.
the bus against Spurs and it nearly worked. I can
Yeah.
see them doing it again.
Yeah, I just think that if you're going to park the bus against that team, eventually Soha.
I'm telling you, you go and watch. Imagine being a supporter of Burnley,
Yeah,
Newcastle at the moment, this team Aston Villa, there's Brighton. Imagine being a supporter every week, and if you go to away games, you know they're parking the bus.
yeah.
How do you support them?
Well, the answer to that is, would you rather them have a full go and be in the championship?
Bournemouth proved to have a full go and stay up.
Yeah, but Bournemouth got good home results. But
Because they have a go. But
yeah.
see, they
No,
always
I would
score.
say, but you know,
They
do you want to
always
get
score.
beat 6? I think you've got to pick the game you're going to have a go at. But if I'm Aston Villa, I'm not sitting back at Crystal Palace.
That's what I think.
No
Let's
chance.
see.
They're
If
gonna
they
have a
sit
go.
back and you don't want to support
No, they
them.
won't sit. Not at
Okay.
Crystal Palace.
All right. Leicester City.
Yeah, you got to fancy Leicester, Paul.
They
you
should-
know.
they should
Bournemouth
win.
away from home. I don't know. They just seem a little bit weakish. You got to
you
think
don't
Leicester
think there'll be
7
goals
to 10.
here?
No, plenty.
Plenty.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
like
thought.
Vardy and Co. Madison. They got good creative players.
Yeah.
I think 7 to 10 is a good thing.
Okay, I'll write that down. 7-10. How about Man City 1 to 12?
Paul, I explored every
They
avenue
beat
in
12.
this site. You know, they just. You'll see my
Brighton
bet
haven't
coming
got the
up.
quality.
No, they've got no chance. They're going to park the bus. They've got no option, Paul.
They have to bring the bus to carry them in because
I think Man City to score in both halves is 4 to 10.
It's a good
To
bet.
win both halves is 7 to 10. But I've got an 18 to 10 lurker, Paul. I think there's going to be an
You got a
avalanche
lurker.
in that particular
Okay.
game.
Right, let's go on to Newcastle United. They went out last night.
They
eh?
went out on penalties. You know, I was
Has
happy
their
for
bus
Steve
broken
Bruce.
down? Sure. And Watford, they haven't won a game.
Haven't won a game, but they've been close in a few games, Paul. I've just got a
They,
funny
they
feeling.
can't defend.
No, I just got a well, the big boy up front, Troy Deeney's out.
Yeah.
So I've got a funny feeling this is their time, Paul. Watford. They've been a little bit unlucky in several of the games. They've missed great chances.
So would you go the 22-10 the draw?
No, I'd be going win and draw Watford. I wouldn't be taking either. Be taking,
Okay.
but it's like 5 to 10 Watford in the draw. I think Watford can upset them.
West Ham, Norwich City.
Paul, Norwich, great team to watch. Have a full go up front.
Pookie.
Yeah, Timo Pukki. You know, we never know with West Ham.
But they
Paul.
got a few other boys who
I know,
can
those
play.
youngsters
They got
can
those
play.
flying
They can
backs.
play. They can play.
They can play. They got a team that I love the way they play football.
brilliant.
Who's in charge? Fark.
Daniel Fark, yeah. Klopp's
He's done a
mate.
good job.
Yeah,
German coaches seem to
yeah.
be very good.
Well, he was at Dortmund.
Remember
with
Huddersfield?
Klopp and all those guys. Yeah, Wagner. Yeah.
So,
But,
so you think Norwich can give them a game?
I think they'll give them a game. Yeah, this will be that'll be 3-2 or that's
Okay.
what you would
Norwich
think.
score goals.
Plenty of goals. It's 5 to 10
Do you
over
remember-
2.5
remember their
goals.
first 25 minutes against Liverpool?
Paul, they gave Liverpool a run
Run
around.
around. And then they won the second half.
Yeah, they beat New York. They won 1-0.
That's
yeah.
right, they won the second half. Okay, Burnley, two big
Well-
strikers, the rest park,
Well, you
the
know, they
caravan.
get set piece Burnley again. Just sling it on the goalkeeper because I'm still not sold on him.
I read an article that they said, when is Klopp going to rest one of the front three?
Yeah.
I thought, I don't know if it'll be
Well,
this game.
next weekend when they won't be playing. But
Yeah, they can
yeah,
all
you got-
rest.
Yeah, this is a Paul. Liverpool 1 to 3. I think Liverpool and Man City. You back them every week. I know the
Okay.
prices are short. Liverpool.
Everton.
I like Everton. The last 5 home league games they've won, and also
Wolves never go down without a fight.
no, I know, but the big game tonight.
Was that a peanut?
No,
I didn't think so either.
you know they're looking for it. And I think Everton, you know, it's Goodison's fortress, Paul.
No, many Vinny Mourinho's in charge.
Vinny,
He
Marco
better start
Silva.
getting some more wins.
Well, it's a big game for him. I think they'll get the result.
If
there.
Wolivers beat them,
Well, then he's not in trouble, Paul, but it's the
he's
fans.
uncomfortable.
Will start,
He's uncomfortable, yeah.
I think they'll win, though, Paul.
Arsenal Spurs should be a great game. It's a derby. There's never much between
Fireworks
them.
there.
I
I
remember
can't
2-1.
believe the draw's 26-10.
Yeah, it's a massive price for the draw.
You know, disappointing in Spurs.
I
Away
was
from home, they've
disappointed.
been poor.
I was
But,
disappointed. Spurs should have won at home.
just disappointed when you hear all the fighting. I didn't know that guys are fighting at training.
That's the story, you know, the
Yeah.
story. I said on the site, I said, well, why is it not making the papers? Kane of
Well, you
Vertonghen.
keep it in house, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to hide a black eye.
Yeah, that's true.
But they've got to play for Tongan. We've got to tighten up.
Well, Vertonghen and Eriksen's got to play.
Yeah,
You know, I know that they're worried maybe he plays
Well, I
against
think
injured.
Thing will come back in. The new boy they bought,
Ndombele, yeah.
He'll come back, and they might give the other guy a bit of a run too. So I don't know. We've still got a lot of boys on the bench, but you've got to respect Arsenal at home.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Championship, but these should be some really good games. Now, I'm hoping for Fulham.
Yeah, just a
They're
disappointing result last week. It cost us a nice bet, Fulham getting beat by Forest. But Cardiff at home, Paul, panel beating job. There'll be throw-ins. They'll be coming from everywhere. And if ever Fulham have a problem, it's in defence.
Yeah.
You know, 24-10 looks all right. Both teams to score. I think that'll be the play. But Steve's right. Yeah, this is a big game for Fulham.
Yeah, tell me he likes Bristol City, Steve.
Yeah.
He says they're a good side.
Yeah,
So will they beat Middlesbrough?
should do. That's
Middlesbrough
on. It's lunchtime. Bristol said, well, we got 18-10 last
When you
week.
say lunchtime, we've also got a...
1:30 time. It's
but on Saturday.
Yeah, it's
We've
on.
also got a game in the
Well,
Premier
it's
League.
on channel, was it 2?
So they're both
2 or no?
on?
Yeah, they're both on.
I'm
Yeah.
watching
Man
both.
United's on as well. Although watch the Bristol City game the way it's going. But I like Bristol City, Paul. You
Okay.
never know. Middlesbrough away from home, always well organised.
Yeah.
But
Stoke have to turn it around, bud.
I can't have Stoke, Paul. I think Birmingham 18-10. Funny team, Birmingham.
Okay, bud,
Yeah,
let's go there.
I like Birmingham with the two teams. Yeah, they get a League Cup. Leeds rested all their main players. They won on penalties.
Yeah.
Until you start winning, go against them. I'm on Birmingham.
Brentford, odds on.
Paul, they've only won one of the 5 games this year. I like Derby.
Yeah, Derby are in
know,
a better place than the
Derby,
league.
good team, Paul. They won at Huddersfield. 5-2, 29-10, 9-10 win and draw Derby, Paul.
I want
That's
to
not
ask you,
playing there.
the boy who went to Chelsea, Lampard, he brought a boy
Yes,
from Derby. Was
Mason
that
Mount.
good player?
Nice player.
That's quality.
And you see the other guy that scored for Bournemouth last week, the free kick.
Quality, one of the best free kicks I've seen. These are two
Outstanding.
excellent youngsters, yeah.
So, you can't, it's a problem, but Philip Cocu, the Dutchman, he's there. He's got them going well, Paul. They've only lost once.
Yeah.
So I think draw and Derby for me there.
Leeds, top of the log, plays Swansea, who's second.
Yeah. They both won 4 and drawn one of the 5 games. You know, 6-10 Leeds, everyone's going to lump on that. Not for me, Paul. I think there'll be goals.
yeah.
I'd rather take 7-10, both teams to score.
Yeah.
The Leeds at home, not for me.
Luton Town, Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield struggling.
You know, Huddersfield haven't won a game. You know, they're
23rd in the log.
struggling. And they got 1 point from the 5 games. You know, Luton won at Barnsley last week. You've got to think Luton would win, Paul. But, that's a funny game. But Huddersfield
are crying for their German to come back.
Well, they were moaning when he was in the league and he wasn't playing this type of football and parking the bus. Now they got relegated.
Now
they
they've-
haven't got a bus.
They haven't got anything.
Yeah.
1 point in 5
It'll be
games is
straight down,
atrocious.
yeah, Luton. It should be Luton, Paul, but
Huddersfield have to turn it at some stage.
Yeah, away from home, I think they've got 1 point. They drew at QPR. The rest they got beat at home. Struggling.
Sure. Millwall,
Yeah, I fancy Millwall.
Beat
Paul.
Hull City,
Yeah,
yeah.
at home, beat Sheffield Wednesday, beat Preston. Good home team.
Arsenal beat them, eh?
Yeah, and Hull City. Paul, they score goals. That Jared Bowen, good goal scorer, but
Yeah.
at the back, struggling. Millwall for me there.
Notts Forest, Preston Northern, your beloved team.
Notts Forest, Paul, Jekyll and Hyde team. They went to Fulham and got a result. But
Yeah.
Preston got a good record there. We won last year, drew the year before. Preston get a draw, be a good result, but it should be Forest.
Reading, Charlton.
Paul, Lee Boyer's done a good job at Charlton. They've always scored. But, Reading have come right since they've signed that Puskas, Hungarian guy. I thought it was a relative of the famous
Is
French
it not?
Puskas.
Ferenc?
No. Ferenc, no, it's not. But they've come well. They've got 7 points from the last 3 games. Should be Reading, Paul, but I think
Yeah.
there'll be goals in that game.
Sheffield Wednesday,
Yeah, I
QPR.
fancy Sheffield Wednesday. QPR struggled late.
Who's in charge of QPR now?
It's Mark Warburton, the guy that was at Brentford. Then he got fired. Or he
Where's the
resi-
Wally with the Brolly?
No, he's gone. He's not there anymore. I don't know where he is. He's on TV last hour.
He's a
last
pundit.
I saw. Pundit, yeah.
Get fired and become a pundit. Huddle.
Easy.
All them.
Mourinho.
Yeah, Huddle, Mourinho.
Easy to sling off and not face the press.
Yeah, that's right. There's a few pundits. If you look at, did Gary Neville have a career in coaching?
at Valencia. He took over Nuno
That's right.
Espirito
He's
Santo.
pundit.
He was gone in
They all
no time.
they get fired to become pundits.
It's
pundits.
easy. Sit in the
They'll
studio.
have Sol Campbell next.
Yeah.
He got fired.
Well, they're all in there, Paul.
Yeah.
Crowded.
All right, let's have a look at West Brom Blackburn.
Yeah, it should be West Brom, Paul. Good team. They're unbeaten this year. I know at home they've slipped up lately, but Blackburn are struggling, Paul.
Yeah.
So it should be West Brom.
Wigan Athletic
I
Barnsley.
fancy Wigan big time. Relegation battle. Yeah, they're 2 home games. They beat Cardiff, and we went for Leeds last week when Leeds beat them 2-0, but they had a player sent off in the 20th minute.
Yeah, that's a
So
big
it's relegation battle, Paul. If Wigan can't get a result at home against Barnsley, they're going down. I fancy Wigan big time.
Okay. How about South African soccer now? MTN semi-finals, Budge?
Yeah, first leg, Paul. You know, Polokwane Highlands. I've been impressed with what I've seen from Highlands. But yeah, the first leg is always a cat and mouse affair, the draw's a big player in that particular game.
Highlands done well.
Yeah, no, he's done great, Owen De Gama. You know,
I saw a photo of him when he was a player.
Okay.
They look different now.
Oh, didn't we all? You see photos from.
Well,
30
I haven't
years.
changed much. You've gone, but I haven't changed much.
Yeah, a draw for me there in the first game, Paul. I'll be impressed with Supersport, but we've backed them to win the competition.
Yeah.
And the wrong team to draw was Sundowns. But Sundowns have a lot of games lately. They've been playing in CAF. But Supersport have only beaten them once in 14.
And they're our team.
And that's the team we've gone for, Paul. I've got to fancy Sundowns are the 2 team, even though I'm funking for Supersport, who are playing great.
Supersport and the team they should verse Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yeah.
Okay, but give me your sixes. Let's see what type of teams they put us out there.
Yeah, well, licorice also. But there's only one game on Saturday, one on Sunday in the Cup. I've gone the field in the Polokwane City Highlands game. I've sided with Derby County to get a good result at Brentford. I've gone Leeds United win and draw at home against Swansea. I think Leicester will be too good for Bournemouth. I've gone the field in the Luton Huddersfield game, and I'm funking for Wigan to beat Barnsley at home 2-1-6.
2-1-6. Okay, the next one.
Second one.
The championship
Is the championship. Yeah, I was struggling to find a banker here, Paul, so I've gone with Bristol City.
And then it's all
Again, then it's United. I don't trust United at Southampton, Paul. I just can't have them, just the way I watch.
It used to be at Jonas Hard. Remember they called us 6-3 there years ago?
Yeah, that was Matt Letitia when we played in grey.
Yeah.
Blame the grey kit. So I've gone United win and draw at Southampton. I've gone Polokwane City win and draw at home against Highlands. I've gone Crystal Palace win and draw at home against Aston Villa. I just got a funny feeling Watford are going to get something at Newcastle United, and I've gone West Ham win and draw at home against Norwich 192.
Okay.
On to the 10, I've gone Bristol City win and draw at home against Middlesbrough. I've gone United win and draw at Southampton. I've gone the field in the MTN 8 semi-final, Polokwane against Highlands. I've banked Chelsea to beat Sheffield United. I've gone Crystal Palace win and draw at home against Aston Villa. Our second page, I've gone Leicester City to beat Bournemouth. I've gone Man City to beat Brighton. I've gone the field in the Newcastle-Watford game. I've gone West Ham win and draw at home against Norwich, and I've ended up bankering Liverpool to beat Burnley, 256.
Okay, the big one, Budge.
The big one, the 13. I've banked Liverpool to beat Burnley. I've banked Chelsea to beat Sheffield United. I've gone Crystal Palace win and draw at home against Aston Villa. I've banked Leicester to beat Bournemouth. Man City to beat Brighton. I've gone the field in the Newcastle-Watford clash. I've gone West Ham win and draw at home against Norwich City. Second page, I've gone Orebro.
Oh, here's some lovely games.
They'll win in against ASC Eskilstuna, who are struggling. I've gone Leeds United win and draw against Swansea. Sadly, I've gone Notts Forest win and draw against my beloved Preston North End. Likewise, Reading win and draw at home against Charlton. Also, Sheffield Wednesday win and draw at home against QPR, and I bank at West Brom to beat Blackburn 326.
All right, but now the most interesting part.
On
Give
to
me
our
your, give me
bets,
your
I've
reasoning.
gone Everton to beat Wolves. I think Wolves will still be shell-shocked from Thursday night. I've gone Leicester to beat Bournemouth. I've gone over 2.5 goals in the Chelsea-Sheffield United game. And I've gone over 4.5, 18-10, Paul. It was like 8-10, 3.5.
Man City, Brighton.
I think they'll murder them. I think this is a pick-6 job.
Okay,
3,200
championship
to 200.
treble.
Yeah, I've gone Birmingham City to beat Stoke. I've gone Millwall to beat Hull City, and I've gone Wigan to beat Barnsley, 2,400 to 200. On to both teams to score. I've gone Burnley, Liverpool, Crystal Palace, Villa, Brentford, Derby, Leeds United, Swansea City, and Luton Town and Huddersfield. 3,400 to 200. There was no PSL game, Paul, so I had to try and invent
Total bookings.
the total bookings. Yeah, I've gone over 3.5 bookings in the Crystal Palace Aston Villa game, also the Everton Wolves game, and likewise Newcastle United Watford. And I've gone over 4.5 in the Arsenal Tottenham game. I looked for the red
Arsenal
card,
guys,
but
the Arsenal guys will be kicking
you
us.
know, so 2,600 to 200 for, as I said, there was no PSL bet, and I didn't want to go for the goal scorers again, so that was what I did. The Spanish omelets back. I've gone Getafe to beat Alaves. I've gone Valencia to beat Mallorca and over 2.5 total goals. I've gone over 2.5 goals in the Osasuna-Barcelona game, and both teams to score in the Basque Derby, Athletic Bilbao against Real Sociedad, 2,300.
Collis King?
Collis King, 6 on X. I've gone Chelsea to beat Sheffield United. I've gone Leicester to beat Bournemouth. I've gone Birmingham to beat Stoke. I've gone West Brom to beat Blackburn. Atletico Madrid to beat Eibar. And Valencia to beat Mallorca, 4,700 to 200.
All right, Budge, your best bet and your value bet.
Yeah, best bet, Paul. Obviously, we don't go 9 to 10 and up. I've gone Wigan. It's a desperation game. They're playing Barnsley. I think 12 to 10 is a good price, Paul.
Value bet, 18
Well, I've
to
gone
10.
Birmingham City to beat Stoke, and everyone's jumping on the Stoke City bandwagon. You know, you win
After
2
one
League Cup
result.
games, and they didn't win it. They won on penalties. And Birmingham, tough team, Paul. They had a bye. They never played in the League Cup. They got knocked out at Portsmouth. 18 to 10, Paul. It's my play.
All right, Budge. I'm more interested in staying on last,
last
one
one standing. Fair
Don't
enough.
forget, there's 60 of us left. Get hold of Budgie, and you could end up getting on an aeroplane and going to go watch Spurs. Or
Well, just
whoever you like.
mentioning that, I spoke to Hilton Witz, who won the last one, and he's going to the Quipco Challenge on the Saturday.
The horse racing.
The horse racing. He's going to Crystal Palace, Man City on the Sunday.
Gee, fantastic.
So he's planned a weekend
Planned it
around
well.
the football.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Brilliant.
So let's hope I stay on another week. But that's the story for now. Until next time, stay on side.